I figured I just want to make sure you're still
Yep.
going with that.
Episode 33. Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Complete Game. I'm your host, Kurt Schilling, and hold on, let me get the camera on you before I introduce you. He is my first and oldest son, Garrick,
What's going
across from
on,
me.
everybody? Welcome back.
So I wanted to do more free form, but I actually wanted to stick to a specific topic. One of the things I've noticed over the last couple of weeks is the bench clearing stuff and pitching inside and all this other stuff. And I wanted to talk to people and to you young pitchers out there, and to fans watching the game. A couple things. First off, no one is more ill suited to call intentional hit by pitches than umpires. It's a job they despise, and they don't want to do it, but they're stuck in the middle of it. And um, for those of for those series where you guys see no warning issued or an immediate ejection, a lot of times going into a series, and we had this happen quite a bit when I was in Boston with New York. There'll be a warning given before the series by the league to the umpires that there will be no warnings, you'll be ejected, yada yada. Those warnings followed Pedro around mysteriously. But I wanted to talk about why we're seeing some of the stuff we're seeing recently. Uh, because there's a couple things. First off, I've lamented and gone on and on about the lack of innings in the minor leagues and why that is such a detriment to the big league pitching. Pitching in is something you learn in the minor leagues, and it's very much an art and part of the craft. Because it comes down to three very simple outcomes, and if you don't get one of these outcomes, it's irrelevant. When you throw a fastball in, you're either trying to freeze a guy for strike three after location changing and doing things. You either shatter his bat or you knock him on his ass. He moves his feet. Well, there's four actually, or you drill him. But the only three things that have an impact are beating him inside by breaking his bat or getting him way behind, making him move his feet, getting a called strike, or drilling him. If one of those four things doesn't happen, then a pitch in is a waste. And it's one of the reasons why command is so integral to being a good big league pitcher. Because when you go into spots. You don't go into areas. I can tell you right now when I threw in, if I so I hit I think 52 guys in my career, and probably less than 10 were accidental. But I never got charged because I didn't throw or hit people for reasons that were stupid. It wasn't not because somebody homered off me or posed off me or any of that crap. It was to defend a teammate, retaliate, whatever. I was only ever thrown out one time because I missed the first pitch, and threw it behind him, and then I got warned. And the second pitch I hit him. But anyway,
I have a question kind of off that too.
yeah.
Is there a like, especially in today's day and age of baseball, a right, quote unquote, right or correct time to throw at a guy? Obviously excluding like the retaliatory, you hit our guy, we're gonna
So
pay you one
it
back.
becomes that's a
Because
great
everyone
right.
pimps every home run
It
now. So
becomes that's a great question because it become it's the game has changed. And
talk
uh
about some of the reasons why you used to hit a guy
so
unprovoked.
so you
Like
would
not
hit.
because someone on your team got hit. Why
Okay,
would you take
the
onus?
Pedros of the world, the Nolan Ryans of the world, they would drill people. Nolan would drill you if you stole a base off of him, or if you bunted off of him, or if you looked at him with the wrong eye. Um, and that was just his reputation. Pedro was a little bit more of a rebel in the sense that he would throw in, and he would throw high in, which was a no-no, because he wanted you to get off the plate. Pedro pitched like he was 6'10".
And he also, I felt like when guys took onus with like, "Are you trying to hit me?" Like he thought he enjoyed that
Yes,
cat and mouse
right,
game of, "Oh, you think I'm trying to hit you?
right,
Watch this."
right. Like, yeah, his was always, if I was trying to hit you, I wouldn't try.
I'd put a hole through your rib
Right,
cage.
right. But he did it a lot of it upstairs, and
Yeah,
that's a no-no. But to be clear, by the way, for you young pitchers, if you're going to hit a guy, sorry about the armpit, you hit him right here. This is the spot, side of the rib cage. If you hit that, they can't get out of the way, and it leaves the best mark and hurts the most. You don't go upstairs. You don't throw at people's heads because of the velocity and the potential life-changing stuff. Some guys do it anyway, but and but in the minor leagues, this is where you learn it. But to answer your question, Garrick, you have to now with the way the rules have been changed and all the stuff about suspensions and stuff, you have to. It's a three-word description that's always been you pick your spot. And the beauty of baseball is that it's a 162 game schedule. You're not playing one team one time. You're going to see the guy. Um, and I remember going down on a rehab start, and I was in Pawtucket, and Dustin Pedroia got drilled to start the game. And he came back to the bench, and I said, and when he sat down, I said, "Who do you want?" He's like, looked at me kind of weird. He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, who do you want?" He's like, "What?" I said, "Well, I'm going to drill somebody. You need to let me know who it's going to be." I mean, I'm in AAA on rehab, but it's one of those unwritten rules that will always be present. So he told me who, and I hit that guy, and we moved on. Um, but in the minor leagues, you learn these things. That you're taught how to do this, how to do it right. And I harken back to a scenario in 1994 or 95. There was a left-handed pitcher named Michael Mims, and he was a very talented kid. And he came to the big leagues and couldn't pitch into righties. And he was hitting a lot of guys. And it got to the point where Darren Dalton stood up in the clubhouse and said, "Hey, listen, if you can't pitch in without hitting somebody, don't fucking do it. Because if I get hit, I'm not going to charge the mound. I'm going to kick your ass." And it was like, "Whoa, crap!" But it was perfectly said and perfectly needed. And that's the thing. You pick your spots, and I don't go. I never. So there was a situation. We were playing the Marlins in '97 when they went to their World Series run, and Charles Johnson was their catcher. And this was mid to late year. We were out of it. We sucked. And Antonio Alfonseca hit Scott Rowland on purpose after Scott had homered. And so I'm winning. I don't know. I don't know what we were winning big. And Charles Johnson was leading off the next inning. Sure enough, I come to the mound, and here comes John Wayner, basically the 25th guy on the roster. Jim Leland was managing, and he wasn't going to let his catcher get hurt, so he sent up kind of a dummy target, and Wayner knew it. Like Wayner knew, and I missed him the first time. I threw it behind him. I got warned, and then I hit him with the next pitch and got thrown out. And he just went to first base. I didn't try to kill him. I tried to put the ball through his rib cage, but he knew and they knew. I mean, Leland knew why, that's why he sent him up there. But there was an understanding in the game that way.
Scapegoat.
Well, but there was also an understanding. Yeah, you know what? What we did was stupid. We deserve the retaliation. We'll go to first base, and it usually ends that way. Now you can go back in time and see some just massive. There's a great video of the guy named Mickey Rivers for the Yankees. He gets thrown at, and the next pitch he drags bunts down to first base, and the pitcher picks up the ball. He veers out of the baseline and charges the pitcher and rolls him. So I mean, and it depends on the rivalry too. But pitching in is an essential component to winning consistently in the big leagues because the fastball down and away is always the best pitch. But the fastball down and away is not effective if hitters aren't concerned with the fastball in. And like I said, by concerned, you either come in and knock him on his ass, you come in and paint him, or you come in and break his bat and beat him. If you don't do one of those three things, the pitch in is pointless. So, and that's another byproduct of these minimal innings in the minor leagues. These guys don't understand it. They don't know how to do it. And when they do hit somebody, they're throwing at them, which is not a safe thing. You got to throw to them. Like I said, you're aiming for this spot to hit this spot. You don't aim up here. Some guys might do that. And, now that we have the DH, a lot guys are a lot more brazen. That was one of the things about Pedro. Pedro did it in the National League. And, you know, I hated him for it. I hated him when he did it. And I hated playing against him. But boy, I loved having him on my team because I knew that was not going to be a concern. And with that team, everybody knew we were going to take care of our own because we had two guys, Manny and David, pimped as much as anybody in baseball.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, the pimping thing was never, I gave up a ton of home runs and I never was 9 times out of 10, it was because I made a mistake. So I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm going to drill the next guy because I made a mistake, just stupid stuff. But
compounding mistakes at that point.
Retaliation is called for when one team intentionally hits another team, or an illegal slide at second base, spikes up, late slide, almost
Yeah,
kill. Those things are things you make players pay for. And again, the hard part now is with social media, nobody gets away with anything. A dirty slide is seen a million times on TikTok or
yeah.
Instagram, right? So you don't get away with play. And going back to A-Rod rounding third base yelling, I got it, like stupid stuff like that. That happens less and less. The showboating thing is I'm the angry old man on my lawn yelling at the sky. I'd prefer it didn't happen, but that's the game today. So it is what it is. You got to pitch with inside the game. The
I
thing,
I sit on the fence for that because like Jose Bautista's home run, I think it was the ALDS or ALCS in 2015 for the Blue Jays,
the
like
bat
that
flip.
that is an all-time baseball moment. Even though they didn't win the World Series or anything, like the clip is all time. But doing it in like game 85 in Cincinnati in a
When you're
nine to
down
six,
7-1.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
just that stuff it's like come on, bro. It's the guys who celebrate every first down or catch in the NFL. It's
Yeah.
exhausting to
It's the
watch.
guy who gets the crowd pumped up, sinking a three with 2 minutes to go, down
Yeah,
40.
yeah.
Right. But what it does do, though, for you fans and for you younger pitchers and players, it gives you insight into what kind of player that person is. Right. I haven't seen Cal Raleigh style. Dude hits the ball and runs around the bases. And I got spoiled, right? I had Matt Williams, I had Scott Rowland, Dale Murphy, Cal Ripken, uh, Darren Dalton, Dave
I
Hollins.
mean, even
They
the
hit the
guys,
ball out of the ballpark and they
e-
ran around the bases.
even David and Manny for like nowadays, they're not
No,
even
no,
close to
no,
the
no,
like
no.
Manny would do the hold your hands up and
Right,
stand there for a moment, and
right.
David would take a look at it, but like they didn't
No.
flip the bat or like yell back at the
All the
dugout
hand
like
gestures and this,
they
but
didn't
again,
they didn't do the Tom Brady let's go
yeah, yeah,
like, into the
yeah,
dugout like that. There's
yeah,
all that now,
right,
which is and speaking of Cal Raleigh, by the way, home runs in 4 straight days.
right, right.
Going back to
What a
Chicago,
great draft pick. I'm so proud of myself on that team.
playing at the Twins tonight.
Yeah, 32. I think he's going to do a lot of record
He's leading.
breaking.
He's leading the league, right? He's
Oh
got to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the last one I saw yesterday was a high fastball that the only guy I can remember seeing that being no brainer was Vladimir Guerrero. It was way out of the zone up, and he just tomahawked it. But good for him. Good for him. So hey, we're going to get into trade deadline stuff here pretty soon. That's heating up. There's a ton of names out there, ton of discussions to be had. Somebody we don't expect is going to get traded, and some team out there is going to do something we're not predicting. Excuse me, it happens every deadline. But so again, if you're watching a game and you see the other thing as a fan to watch, if you're watching a game there's and a pitcher hits a batter, immediately look at the pitcher because there's two reactions, right? There's the head down, damn it, I didn't mean it. And then there's the give me the next ball, I already did it. However, there's a third reaction. There's the guy who's too scared to admit he was doing it on purpose. So he'll throw the pitch, hits the batter, and puts his head down like, oh man, that was a mistake. Instead of just standing there going, yeah, you got hit, you deserved it, you know it, go to first base. That's another one. And I've seen that. I played with guys that did that. So yeah, there you go.
I had one more question too with clearing bench brawls. Like you've been in a bunch, obviously, in varying capacities, both like being on the field and being the first guy off the bench, despite being the slowest guy on the team. Uh, but at what point during those can you feel when you're in the like mosh pit essentially of guys that
I was in
there's
the
like a
mosh pit for everyone I was involved in.
but so is there a dissipation where you realize like, all right, this is now like this is getting serious versus like, all right, we're just waiting for the
Yep.
bullpen to get here.
Yes. Yes. There's a moment. And like, so the A-Rod Tech one, I was
Yeah.
right there. I was on the, you saw it coming and you could hear it from the bench. I was trying to rabbit punch A-Rod like in the face. Like I didn't like him. In the Eddie Perez, Paul Bird, I was the first guy there. I made the mistake of wrapping myself around Eddie Perez. He rolled over on me, and I was on the bottom of the pile with my legs wrapped around him like this. And the pile was starting. I could feel the bottom half of my right leg bending, and it was
Yeah.
about to snap. And I'm screaming. get off, get off, get off, get off.
Yeah.
And then the Mike Williams, Pedro Martinez one, I was first one out there. I was trying to kill Pedro.
Yeah.
I wanted him dead. But I also knew a dear friend of mine, David Segui, was on the Expos, and I know he was trying to help get me out. Rondell White also obviously got me off the pile, but like I wanted to kill him. But because, well, I don't know. I had more in my mind. It was more of a hockey thing than a baseball thing. Like I'm not running out here to separate the pile because in the first bench clearing ball I got in, I was in Baltimore. I can't remember why and how it happened, but I ran out there and I grabbed one of my teammates. And Mike Devereaux looked at me and said, "Don't ever grab your effing teammate in a fight." And I realized why. You don't grab your teammate because you're setting them up to be punched in the face.
Also, they don't know. They might not see
Right,
who
right,
you
right,
are.
right.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. And then I was like, okay, I get it.
Because I forget who it is in the A-Rod and Veritek one where you're being pulled away by teammates, but it is like the quick shot they have of you. It is scary for the guy over your shoulder because you are
Yeah,
trying to, you know.
yeah. And that was the one where Tanyan Sturts and Kapler and
Yeah.
Ortiz and
That's a real one, and it's
well,
like
Tanyan Sturts was lucky he wasn't dead at the end of that because Trot Nixon, who is a wonderful human being, but his dark side is dark.
yeah. It's where like the obviously hockey's the one everyone thinks of because they really do fight and
Yeah.
like
We'll punch each other in the
all 12
face and
guys will
split
fight
this
on
and
the
lose
ice.
teeth and everything.
But it is a crazy thing. And it happens in football sometimes you see where like all of a sudden there's 30 to 50
What was it, Miles
testosterone
Garrett
out monsters.
on
Yeah, yeah.
Rudolph?
Yeah.
Like tore his helmet off? Like those things.
That's and you the wires crossed for some guys.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
scary thing.
Yep.
That's a good piece of
Well, their
advice.
motors are revving already.
Yeah.
Now I get to throw punches. Get your helmet off. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in the contact sport.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. Guess you're my teammate, buddy.
Yep. I gotta wanted to mention a couple of things
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
too. Just going into tonight, Scooble's on the bump. We don't usually call things, but I think against the A's
He's a
that could be a
must-watch.
complete game
He's
for
a
our next
must-watch.
show. So just wanted it on the record. And then also Braves are coming into town against the Mets, who are struggling at 1-9 their last 10 games, while the Braves are 7-3 with Strider on the mound. So
Yeah,
one of those points in the air that's kind of hard to track when you're watching a 160 plus game season. But
if
I think this is a point for the Braves where this could be a turning point.
right. I'm also faintly aware, not 100% positive, but I believe Mizorowski is slated to face Skeens on Wednesday.
Yeah, yep. That's projected right
And
now.
if that's going to happen, that is much watched television
Yeah, that'll be a fun game.
because the gun will overheat multiple times. So that'd be an interesting.
All right, you want to guess teammate?
Yeah.
All right. We got 5 clues here, ranging from vague to most obvious. I just wrote down a list too, if you want to run through. Council, Lieberthal, Jeffries, Womack, Lowell, Tech, Danny Batista, John Olrud, Mark Bellhorn, Abreu, Ellsbury, Alex Gonzalez, Lyle Overbay, Mark Grace, Dave Hollins, Luis Gonzalez, Mickey Morandini. So those are all the ones we've done so far. And we're going to kick it off with our most fake clue. A 15-year MLB vet. I spent my entire career in the American League with 3 different clubs. What would you say an MLB vet is, by the way? Sidebar. 10 year?
10.
10?
Johnny Damon.
No. A 3-time All-Star, all with the same club, which also happened to be my home state's Major League Ball club.
Read that one again.
A 3-time All-Star, all with one club, which also happened to be my home state's MLB ball club. So the state he's from, this is the team he played for, represented the All-Star game 3 times. For the American League, obviously.
He's from Maryland or from Boston, Mass. $15 years, 3-time All-Star.
All in the AL.
No.
3
Nobody.
different clubs. Next
Huh?
clue.
No. Next clue.
A leadoff hitter the majority of my career, with 315 career stolen bases to my name. My season high was 53 at one
Coco
point.
Crisp.
Nope. During a 2 year stretch from 96 to 97, I had a 50 home run season and represented the Baltimore Orioles for
Brady
the American
Anderson.
League against you in the 1997 All-Star game. Brady Anderson.
Brady was from California, I thought.
Maryland.
Wow.
Yep.
All right.
That's cool. I didn't I always know like Brady Anderson's a name I heard a lot,
Yeah.
obviously growing up, and he's not like a household name.
Brady Anderson.
But would you say that of all the times you moved during your career, do you think that's top three most impactful in terms of like your development into who you became as a baseball player, going from Boston to Baltimore?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Because it got me in Frank Robinson's orbit
Yeah.
and Cal Ripken's orbit. And Brady went with me. And Brady was kind of a quick story. When I was in the big leagues, I was not a fashion icon by any stretch. And Brady was a clothes whore. Brady was that dude who had the perfect suit on, a good, obviously phenomenal looking guy, ripped and all the other crap, one of those guys who got way too many good cards for his hand. And I used to dress so bad that Brady would come to me on the plane flight and he'd go like this. If I wasn't wearing something Brady approved, he would look at his watch and he'd go, "That's a 10-minute timeout. You sit there for 10 minutes and don't speak because that's horrific." And then it got to be he'd just see me and he'd go, "All right, what time is it?" And that was kind of a running joke. Brady was just wearing me out. I One day I broke my belt and actually tied a shoelace around my waist to hold my beer. And Brady came up to me and goes, "Wait a minute, what is that?" Sit down immediately. And this is like he just went off. But what a great guy.
One of those guys that lived for guys to have days like that or mistakes like that.
Let's go off topic. Does Zdeno Chara get 100% unanimous Hall of Fame?
I don't know. No, probably not.
You don't think so?
No, no,
Is he not one of the five best defensemen to ever play?
no,
You don't think?
probably not. All right, three came right to mind: Paul Coffey, Bobby Orr, Nick Lidstrom. But
What about Mogilny? Is he in? Does he make it?
I don't. I'd have to look at numbers.
Yeah.
I'm so not. I'm such a hockey fan, but my history with hockey is so poor because I grew up such a baseball kid.
Right.
Uh, we got time for one more little thing, real quick.
Yeah.
Too? I mentioned this to you a while back, but obviously I haven't mentioned it on the show yet. I was trying to think of a different little game we could play too. And another one I was thinking about was, and the example I gave is kind of a mashup. And I told you the example would be like a former MLBer and a current MLBer or something like that. And it would be Patrick Corbin Burns, someone
Oh,
that
yeah,
shares
yeah,
a
yeah.
name like that. So I made one. This one's pretty easy. So I don't expect it'll really
All right, but I
crush
need to
you.
understand it, so this will be good.
Yeah, but it's a good little learning curve.
All right.
So what I did for this one, the game will be called Put Us Together. And it's a former NBAer and a current MLBer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. So the first hint is for both guys, right? That's usually what it'll be. We are both over 6'5". That's blanket for both gentlemen. And
Okay.
then the basketball clue, I played college basketball for the LSU Tigers from 89 to 91. And then the baseball one is I signed with the LA Dodgers out of the Dominican Republic in 2017. Any guesses right now or anyone for either of them? Because figuring out one of them can obviously help.
Right, but I don't. I thought the baseball over 6'5" one was going to be obvious, but I don't know any.
Okay.
Okay.
You want the next one?
Yeah.
This is pretty rapid fire too. I was drafted this is the basketball player. I was drafted number one overall by the Orlando Magic in the 1992 MLB or NBA draft. And then the baseball one is I was an up and down in the Pirates organization before my debut in October of 2021.
Shaquille O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah.
Okay.
See? So obviously they'll get a little more challenging, but that's the idea. Shaquille O'Neal Cruz,
So
Patrick Corbin
first
Burns.
name, last name, first name, last name.
Their names have to roll
The middle
together.
name has to be the last name, first name.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Very cool. I like that.
All right.
All right, we're out of here, guys. We'll see you on Friday.
Thanks for listening.